Today on Pull My Focus, we're going to talk about the Sony ZV-1. Is it a good camera for YouTubing? Is it a good camera for streaming? Let's find out.
If you like this video, please subscribe and click that little bell for notifications when we release a new video.
Welcome to Pull My Focus, Adventures in the World of Digital Filmmaking, where we bring you the inside tips on making great digital video. We've been shooting our videos here on Pull My Focus with one of a couple of types of cameras. So when Frank is doing either client work or shooting his videos, he's using our Canon C100, like professional grade camera. I mean, that thing is a workhorse and it costs thousands of dollars. On the other end of the spectrum over here with me, I'm mostly doing editing videos and stuff. So I'm gonna shoot mine with my Canon 5D Mark III, and I have a Rokinon 35mm lens on there with plenty of light and a perfect situation for this camera. This camera is a workhorse also. These guys right here, this is similar to the 5D Mark III. It's a DSLR, and you take one of these guys, you take a big fat lens, you put it on there, and you make sure nothing breaks because these are expensive also. I've been doing some streaming lately, and to do streaming kind of requires a different type of camera, not as expensive. I was using for a little while, and this is kind of the de facto standard, the Logitech webcam. This is a 920, Logitech 920 webcam. Decent, not great. And I've also been using these little handy cams here. And this is a Sony CX405. You can use this as a face cam, okay? It's just basically a handy camcorder. I stream pinball, so I will use this to shoot the pinball machine, which looks great because this shoots in 1080p, 60 frames per second, which is the minimum of, watching that little silver ball running around. Sony came out with this guy. Now this is the Sony ZV-1 camera. This is a all-in-one mirrorless little guy. It has a built-in lens. It's really good Zeiss glass. This thing has shocked me with how good it is. Like I said, this has been out for about a year, so this won't be a review of this camera. There's plenty of reviews of the ZV-1. But I just want to give you my thoughts about how I feel that this camera will do for our Pull My Focus viewers, which are generally vloggers and YouTubers, but also for streamers. This thing kicks ass. Now let's first talk about using this guy for streaming. So this camera will shoot at 1080p, 60 frames per second, and which is generally speaking the resolution you're going to be streaming out to Twitch or YouTube. It has a micro USB ability to charge over micro USB. So this is how you charge the camera. And you can also plug it in for perpetual power as long as your USB battery, power supply, what have you, has enough juice to keep it alive. I can plug this in and keep this going forever and ever and ever, and it never runs out. Tiny battery inside, so you're not gonna have that much time if you don't plug it in. It has a built-in soft skin effect, what we call Cosmo sometimes in the Red Giant universe, which is a pretty cool feature. Makes people look beautiful. Okay, whatever. Built-in lens for convenience. It's got, like I said, Zeiss glass in here. No mucking about with this kind of thing while you're streaming, so you're not putting the camera up, doing the lens and changing lenses and everything. It opens up to about a f1.8 for some of that sweet bokeh. It's really good enough. It's really good enough for streaming. Now let's talk about what some of you are here for only, is the YouTube vlogging features of this camera. This camera was made for vloggers, period. And it also does come with a little handle that you can use. I don't have it because I don't really use it, but it has control mechanisms on it for recording and stopping and playing back and stuff like that. It will do 4K 30 frames per second. It will do obviously 1080p 60 frames per second. It has a built-in ND, which is key. If you're going outside, it has a nice little built-in ND on here, ND filter. If you don't know what an ND filter is, it's basically like sunshades for your lens. It's got a little fold-out self-monitoring screen, and it goes out like that. Very minimal rolling shutter. So if you're doing quick motion here or there, very, very, very slight. In fact, better rolling shutter handleage than handleage? Is that a word? Handleage? It handles rolling shutter better than the 5D Mark III. It'll do up to 120 frames per second. So if you want to do some nice, smooth, slow motion stuff, this guy will do it. Also, if you want to get into a little bit of cinematography, a little more advanced things, you can set it to fully manual and control pretty much everything. It also supports Sony's S-Log2 and S-Log3 color profiles, as well as a bunch more. So if you want to handle all your color work in your editor, you shoot in one of those profiles and you're ready to go. Let's take this puppy out for a walk and find out what it can do. I'm letting the camera do its auto. So I'm in auto mode right now, where it pretty much sets everything. And it looks like for outdoors, it set me at 1, it's changing the shutter speed from 1/125th to 1/60th on the fly, I guess based on the light that I have. I'm not even sure if it's changing the ND based on the light. The ISO is at 125, now it's at 160, now it's at 125. So it looks like it's on the fly handling all that stuff that I would normally lock down. But I'm doing a walk and talk. So I am changing my lighting and my environment and everything. The only other thing that I'm doing that a beginning blogger probably wouldn't do, and I highly suggest it, is getting an external microphone. So currently I'm using a Rode video mic on top of this guy right here. And I'll do some tests without the Rode video mic, using just the built-in Sony microphone, which I hear is pretty damn good. And I also have the camera just on a selfie stick at its lowest setting, just to get some of the bump off of the camera. It's usually a good idea to at least get like a selfie stick or something so you can take your hand away from the camera so it doesn't jiggle too much. The camera does have image stabilization built in. It may not look like it, but trust me, this would be a hot mess if it didn't have any. Now, one great feature of this camera is it's got a mode called Product Showcase, I think. It's like one of the only cameras on the market in this price range where I would say you could probably leave the autofocus on. What it does is, if I bring something into frame and I move it forward, it focuses on that guy. And then once it's gone, right back to me. I mean, that is amazingly fast for a camera with autofocus. Okay, so now I just decided to change it up a little bit. We are under manual settings, so I'm not on the auto settings anymore. I'm also not on the Rode mic anymore. I'm using the internal microphone on the Sony. I unfortunately don't have the little dead cat, so you might be hearing some wind, but I want you to get an idea of how it sounds using the internal microphone. We're shooting at 4K, 30 frames per second, at a 5.6 right now, and the ND, the built-in ND filter, which is something that I love on this camera, is enabled, allowing me to shoot in brighter situations, but still maintain a good exposure. Got the ISO up to about, what does it say? 400, and there you go. Vroom vroom, baby, vroom vroom. Some extra things in this camera that I'm just gonna throw at you just for funsies. It takes great photos, so your thumbnails can be handled in this also. It's got interval recording, which means if you want to set it to like take one click every minute, you can get some nice, time-lapse shots. This will do it, as long as you have a battery plugged in. If you do it on the battery doesn't really last that long. It's about 45 minutes per charge. But if you have it on power, and you can get a dummy battery for this also. You don't have to just plug it into USB. You can get a dummy battery. I think they have them on sale on Amazon that you'll keep it perpetually powered. This also has the ability to use it as a webcam. Now, you're limited to 720p 30 when you're using this as a webcam, say like the Logitech C920. So I shy away from that stuff, but in a pinch, if you're on the road and you don't have a camera, you can plug this guy directly into your laptop or whatever. You just use it as a really good webcam. Now, it's not all roses and unicorns with this guy. I mean, there are some things that I don't like. Number one, it's small. Well, you think that's a feature, but it's really small. In fact, the controls on it are so tight that I often find myself pressing it in a direction that I didn't want to. I fat finger it a lot. If you get used to this, you might be able to deal with it, but it's pretty damn small, so your mileage may vary. To get to the SD card, you're gonna have to take it off of whatever mount. The mounting system here is wrapped around the SD card slot. You'll have to take it entirely off the rig for you to look at your dailies. Now, that's not a super problem, I think, because generally speaking, people are gonna be carrying this with them all day and shooting all day, looking at their dailies, so to speak, on the screen on the back. And then when they come home, they can dump all the stuff. So you're generally not gonna be taking this from the camera to your laptop and back all the time. But it would be nice if there was an easier way to get at the SD card. I also mentioned that the battery life on this puppy is not so great. I think you can get an hour or 45 minutes out of one charge. So if you're gonna be out for a long time, buy extra batteries. In conclusion, this camera knocks it out of the park for things like if you're a beginning cinematographer and you want to try some stuff. This is great. Built-in lens, manual features, 4K, pretty decent microphone up on top, and it comes with a little dead mouse you can put up there. Call it a dead mouse because it's not a cat size, whatever. Streamers, this is what you want to go for to get that nice bokeh in the background and smooth 60 frames per second talent screen. And YouTubers, this is everything you need to go on the road. I mean, this thing rocks. Now, the only other competition in this price range, and the price range may seem a little steep to some people, but for an A6000 series camera, you're talking about $1,000 US with no lens. This thing retails at about $750 and you're done. The only other thing with this feature set is kind of the Panasonic Lumix G100, which, if you ask me and go look at reviews, this thing kind of tops over a little bit. This beats it by a little bit. And since this camera was released, Sony released the Sony ZV-1. Go check that out or check out reviews for that. But I'm telling you, this is the sweet spot. This is what you want. This is what you need for YouTube's streams and stuff. Thanks for watching. Make sure to check out pullmyfocus.tv for our companion articles that go along with these videos. And you'll see me in the next video because it's impossible for me to see you because, well, you know how television